Is somebody telling you to not do network marketing? That's what we're going to talk about today. You know, my mom and dad told me not to do network marketing. More so on the level that my dad had known somebody who was in the military and that they had completed 20 years, and so then they got a retirement, a pension I think is what he called it. And so he didn't want me to forfeit the pension. That was his reason for doing it. My mom, she always just said, whatever you want to do, kind of a person. My sister told me not to do it. She said, Tim, it's absolutely a scam. All right? Some of my friends told me not to do it. All right? So who's going to pay for my life? Okay, so whoever it is that is talking to me, I have to not view that with a lot of impression. I have to view that from the perspective of, what do I want? What's my dream? Right? So that was the reason that I remember that, and I still did it, okay? Because I'm responsible for my life, for accomplishing my dreams, and nobody else is, okay? So let's go a little bit deeper onto this. Now, why do people say don't do it? Okay, I've narrowed it down to a couple of things. Number one, it's the easiest advice you could ever give to somebody. Let me give you an example of this. So after I had retired, had many millions of dollars, I wanted to do an investment. I had hired an attorney to evaluate it and do research. And he comes back and in like a couple of weeks later, and he said, Tim, I'm going to advise you not to do this. And I said, oh, why? And he said, well, and he went through about a 30-minute almost presentation over the telephone. And it was all the reasons why I shouldn't. And so when he got all done, I just thought about it for a little bit, and I go, okay, thank you for your advice. Turn off the clock. You're no longer charging me for time, all right? And I just want to ask you some personal questions here. And he said, okay. I said, all right, we're off the clock. And then I said, okay, so it's not your money. Why are you advising me against it? And then he started into the same conversation. And I said, no. I'm asking you from the perspective, I'm not a client of yours. Why did you say not to do it? Why didn't you sell me on doing it? And he goes, look, Tim, in my position, I'm an attorney. And if I say don't do it or recommend don't do it, and you go ahead and do it, then you went against what I said, right? And so there's no threat there. You're not going to sue me. If I told you that it was a good deal, and he goes, now I'm liable because I advised you to do it, and so therefore I could get sued. And I was like, interesting. Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate it. And that was the end of that. I never used that attorney again. But if you think about it, the easiest advice anybody will give you, especially an off-the-sleeve kind of a conversation, is don't do it, right? It's so easy to do that. What would happen if you succeeded? Okay, so I'm not going to name any names here, but I was in a situation to where the people around me were afraid of me rising up and out. Not because they didn't necessarily want me to succeed, but that it would create a measurement, right? And so if I suddenly did a whole bunch, maybe I'm no longer friends with these people in their minds. In my minds, they'll always be buddies, right? And so I felt this tug, and it was a constant, and they became, like they made jokes about me, right? Things like that. And so I always remember, like, what was going on for that. You may have seen this around, a diet sabotage. You come in and you say, hey, I'm trying to lose some weight. And, and somebody, let's just say there's 3 people there and they're a little chubby. And if you got lean, what does it say about them? That they're lazy, or that, that they look worse, or something like that? Maybe in a spouse situation, if one gets lean, well, now I'm going to have to do it, right? And so, it's like, hey, honey, you want me to make some popcorn? That kind of thing. And it's a sabotage. Okay, so that's one of the reasons people say that. And then also, just as a generalization, it's not true for every person, but as a generalization, the poor and the middle class tend towards fear. All right, and so they're fearful of losing money. They're fearful of starting something new. They're fearful of someone becoming better than them. And so I've found that very frequently, that people in that kind of a mindset, they're going to suggest don't do it. All right, just because they're fearful of, something happening, right? So, but the wealthy people, it's very interesting, because I go to various different charity events, and normally, if you're set at the wealthy table, then those people have very different conversations. They'll say, what do you do? And I say, I'm in network marketing. And they're like, man, I have always been curious about that. How does that work? Right, like that. That's the mindset. They want to know, how does sales happen? How do they create? How do they, pay all these different people? How does, and they're really inquisitive about the whole thing, whether they want to do it or not. All right, so they're not going to be a person who, if you bring them anything, they're not going to say don't do it, because they know that any person who has a driven mind will make anything work. That's what the wealthy know. And the other thing that the wealthy do is that they evaluate risk. Okay? And so I showed this in another video having to do a similar thing. But here's the situation. Okay, so this is Google stock. And each one of these little red things or green things, the red ones means that the stock price went down. This is the price over on this column right here. And so I purchased this right here. I bought 1,000 shares, and at like $11.93. Okay, and then I drew this little line right here, and this right here is my stop loss. In other words, if it drops down $1, I'm going to sell it. And what's my loss? $1,000. Okay, so that's the downside risk. But based upon the amount that it moves in a given day, average daily volume, or average daily range, then I kind of figured that it was going to take, less than 10 days for it to move up to in this area. And so, so I had a sell target at 12.28. Okay, so if it got up there, I made $35,000. All right. And so when I did that other video, it was at 28 at that time. And so now you can see that it went on and it finished that position. So here's the thing. What's the downside risk? $1,000. What's the upside? Listen carefully. Risk. I didn't say potential. I said risk. Because that's the way wealthy people think. The risk is that if that money sits in my pocket, it's not earning anything. My downside risk is $1,000. My upside risk is $35,000. If somebody who knows how to do this, if somebody doesn't take that trade, if I didn't take that trade, I'd want you to go to Ace Hardware or Home Depot, buy a shovel and hit me in the head with it. And then hand it to me and say, go dig yourself a grave. Because you've lost that spirit. Okay? That's the way people look at risk, downside risk and upside risk. What's the risk of me not doing it? I'd be $35,000 poorer. Okay? So that's the concept, all right? And then in a very similar way, back on topic now, I spent $1,200 7 years ago. I've now made millions, have 57 people who have made over $1 million, and I think it's 5,000 now who average $250,000 a year. All right? Hit me with a shovel if I wouldn't do a deal like that. Okay? So that's what it is. All right? And so remember this, this phrase. The most amount of money and time you will ever lose is the amount you will never make due to lack of action. Okay? So all that it is just a series of downside risk, upside risk, downside risk, upside risk. You may say, what do you mean time? Right? Well, you know time. Everybody has 24 hours and you can't change that. Or can you? You see, if you work an 8-hour day as an employee, you get paid for an 8 hours, right? You can't change that. You can work overtime, okay. But if you have a business and you have 9 employees, or you're in network marketing and you have 9 reps, and let's say that you work 8 hours and your reps work 8 hours, right? So that's a total of 10 people working 8 hours. That's 80 hours of production in one day. You see the difference in that? That would take you, 10 days in order to do that if it was all on your own. And so that's what I'm talking about. The most amount of time you will ever lose is the amount you'll never make due to the lack of action of getting into your own business, having employees or having reps. All right, I prefer reps because they're a lot easier to manage and I don't have to pay people to find out that their resume was crap and that they're not a producer. They don't work. They don't produce dones. Okay, and if you have a whole bunch of those, then you've got a bureaucracy and messed up. So this is what we're talking about over here when I said that what you're doing, oh, right here. Okay, so what I did in network marketing is I joined and I knew what to do. Just like I knew what to do here, I know what to do in network marketing, and that's that next slide. But before I do, I want to explain this a little bit. People do not understand network marketing, okay? And they don't understand residual income, because if you understood residual income, you would crawl over broken glass naked to get it, okay? I worked for about 5.5 years, and then I retired for 18 years with a residual income. It's unbelievable, all right? It's unbelievable. I'm telling you that, okay? And so just to kind of give you an example, think about, to get the concept right, think about what you spend residually. Okay, so let's say your phone, the service on your phone, not the phone itself, right? It's the service on the phone. Every month you renew, right? So you keep that subscription going. Maybe cable television. Maybe you can think of your mortgage that you're paying every single month. But here's the deal. Like internet service, let me give you one more. Let's say internet service. Okay, so this computer was a one-time purchase. I may purchase again in 4 years or something like that. But this is a one-time purchase, but the internet service is reoccurring every month. But here's the thing. This computer doesn't multiply itself. All right? That's the reason I love network marketing, because you're building a sales team and training them to build a sales team. And so your residual income multiplies. That's the fundamental difference. There were months during my retirement that my check would jump $15,000, $18,000, $35,000 in a month when I was completely retired. Right? So most people do not understand residual income. So if somebody were to say to you, don't do it, the person probably doesn't have the right understanding of what network marketing residual income is compared to all other kinds of income. Okay, and so this is what, if somebody, let's say that somebody's telling you not to do it because they tried it and it didn't work, okay? So this I've shown, multiple times, and I will always show this because people kind of have this real bizarre look at it, and they think that what network marketing does is different than any other business or any other organization. Every organization in the world has to do this process, right? And this process is generate leads, contact appointments, presentations, and follow up. So if you think about it, any college, any religion, a church, they're going to have to do this same process if they want to expand. Everybody does this, okay? And so this is what a person does. And so when I said, for $1,200, I can get into a program and I can build a residual income, absolutely, because I know this process. And so this process is the only thing that a person has to know in order to build their own business and get residual income. All right, so in a summary, number one, so what if somebody tells you not to do it? Okay? Live your own life. Pursue your unapologetic dreams. And I really underscore unapologetic. Don't apologize. If you got a big dream, you go after it. Okay? It is horrifying to me. I've got 2 young boys. And man, if somebody hurt them, I'd be mad. Somebody steals their dream, okay, that's a whole nother level of mad, all right? Evaluate facts. Make your own decisions. I've put a lot of videos on, if you're watching this from Facebook, it will be in YouTube, Network Marketing Power. And if you're watching just a single video, make sure that you click and look at the whole channel, because I've got a lot of videos that are presenting the actual facts, okay? And so then you make your own decision. And by the way, somebody who cannot evaluate facts has to depend on the opinion of others. That's the reason I decided to come out and actually show you facts so that you can evaluate it just from that perspective, because 30 years in the industry, I've been behind the boardrooms of 200 network marketing companies, and that's a lot of experience. And so I know where to look to find the facts. Most people hit Google, and the first couple of pages that come up, they say, oh, I did my research. No, you didn't. You did opinion research, right? It's very different than facts. Speaking of that, make sure that you watch the video that I did where I interviewed a data scientist that sits behind all the numbers. And so if somebody says to you, most people fail or most people don't make money and things like that, based upon a document that was written by a person who failed in network marketing, and he went out and basically fabricated a whole bunch of lies, okay? So, and then lastly, surround yourself with people who inspire you to do more, not less. All right? If you like this video, do me a favor and comment down below. I love to see the comments. Give me a thumbs up. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you might consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.